If you listen to the show, you already know that we cannot exist without our sponsors. They are the ones who make things happen behind the scenes. So let's acknowledge Fuji Sports. We've been working with these guys for a while now, not only as far as this podcast is concerned, but also at the RŌL Academy. We've had their gear. I personally use their gis. What a phenomenal product.
Yeah, I mean, Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, MMA, tape, bags, anything you need for your Jiu-Jitsu journey, you can find at fujisports.com.
Let's talk RŌL TV. There's so much content on there. It's ridiculous at this point. But I think what is even more intriguing, as time went on during the project, we've been recording most of the events that were taking place here at RŌL Academy. At this point, I mean, we have guys like Chris Howder, Armin Fati, Rafael Lovato Sr., and Pete the Greek. I mean, there were so many different events that we've kind of recorded it. Don't you think that's amazing? I mean, points of reflection and kind of going back for all the students to see what really happened and refresh their memory.
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, being able to go back and look at all these high-level practitioners, Octavio Cudo, like one of the names you didn't mention. And I mean, just these guys that have been doing this for so long come in, teach these amazing seminars and workshops, and it's all recorded and there for you to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get additional savings on all this, type in code RŌL Radio at the coupon and get additional 30% off of your membership.
Nice. Go to rolacademy.tv. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please remember to hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. This ensures that we can continue bringing you the great guests and amazing content that you've come to expect. Today's guest might not be a household name in BJJ, but if you have been practicing for any time at all, you have probably seen and been influenced by his work. Gile Huni joins us to discuss the rewards of being an instructor, international jiu-jitsu, connecting with students, and more. Here's the RŌL Radio with the owner and head instructor of Kimura Jiu-Jitsu in Serbia, third-degree black belt, and owner and editor of one of the most influential jiu-jitsu websites, BJJ Eastern Europe, Gile Uni.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we are live. Here we go. Once again, another episode. Professor, welcome to the show. Today, this is, I love this because today we get to connect overseas. We get to connect with the European side of the jiu-jitsu. And so it happens you're drinking coffee, aren't you? Are you a
That's
big
right.
drinker? Are you a big coffee drinker?
Maybe like 3 cups a day or something,
Oh, that's good. That's
But
good.
it's like
That's
light,
good.
like a cappuccino type of coffee, It's not like a
Yeah.
espresso,
Wow. When did you start jiu-jitsu?
I started jiu-jitsu in November 2001 in Paris, France.
You remember precisely, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I remember my
Before
first
we
class.
Oh, well, hold on. We get to that. We'll get to that. But right before we start recording, you do mention that you started in France.
That's right.
But now you live in Serbia, and so
I live in
Serbia,
Serbia,
it happens.
yeah.
We actually have a mutual friend, right? Adem Redzovic. You're good friends with him,
Adem
right?
Redzovic, that's right.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
What a great guy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I've known
awesome
Adem
guy,
for
man.
so many years. Shout out to Adem, by the way. We've had him on a show a while back, but he's just literally just half hour, 40 minutes from here. So yeah, that's
right.
That's phenomenal. What got you started? Why jiu-jitsu? I mean, you said 2001. Is that what you said?
2001, yeah. I bet I should have started much earlier, But I mean, like maybe like you guys. I watched was it a tape of UFC 2? Royce Gracie, all that. This was back in '96. I'm like, oh my god, this is unbelievable. And I was always watching all the UFCs.
Let me ask you this. I mean, 2001 in Europe, jiu-jitsu is not big. I mean, it wasn't big here in US.
It wasn't big.
How did you find jiu-jitsu?
Well, like I said, I watched all the UFCs until like whatever UFC 30 or something. So I pretty much knew about BJJ, MMA, all that kind of stuff. I was following. I knew Tito Ortiz, I knew Kimo, Royce, and then when I went to study in Paris, France, I mean, I was gonna go to do a BJJ class, and I was like 19 years old. I should have started then. But, you know, I went to first class, and it looked kind of fun because I made a mistake of not having, of going to watch. I went to watch it. That was a big mistake. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, oh my God, these guys on the floor, you know, what is this, you know? And I said, I'm going to go do some Muay Thai first, you know? So I did Muay Thai for 2 years. And then finally I went to start Jiu-Jitsu, and that changed my life completely. You know?
Isn't it interesting when you watch it? It's very different feeling, or the very different vision. It's not the same, right?
Yeah,
but once you do it, it's different, right?
God. Yeah, once you get, once you feel it, when someone like arm bars you or chokes you, a smaller guy, and you're like, oh my God, this is it. This is it, man.
What was your first class? What was so convincing about your very first class that you did it?
So my first class, so I was a big guy. I'm still a big guy, but I was much bigger then. I was like a bouncer, you know, I was like, in pounds, I was like 230, you know, 230 pounds, muscle, did Muay Thai, you know, played basketball, whatever, you know. Anyway, I go there, and some tiny blue belt, you know, like, I'm sure you have the same story, man. Tiny blue belt, you know, like nerdy looking guy, you know. He goes, hey, you, big guy, come on, let's go. And I'm like, okay. And I watch some UFC, you know. Man, that guy arm barred me, almost broke my tooth, you know, tapped me out at least 5 times. And this guy actually is my instructor, you know, up to now. So, and I remember taking the subway back to my home, and like I was still holding my throat. It's painful, you know. I'm like, how many people in the world know this stuff? You know, this is like superhero stuff. It's like a superpower. It's crazy, you know. And I'm like, okay. And then from that day, I trained every day. You know.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say this because it reminds me of my first day, and I've said it on the show, but you probably didn't hear it. So, you know, my first day was with Miguel Torres.
The UFC fighter.
Oh yeah,
he was under Carlson, right?
Oh yeah,
small guy.
We trained together. Yeah, and with Stefan Bonner, who
Stefan Bonner, Carlson
passed away. But this is all the guys that I started with, and Miguel was, I think Miguel was a blue belt. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was a blue belt when I started, and I was bigger guy too. And then he's my first training partner, and my first thought in my mind is like, I don't want to hurt him.
I don't want to hurt him.
Oh, he beat the crap out of me so bad. It's not even funny. Yeah, so it's always good stories behind our first day.
Yeah.
Way back in 2001, Jiu-Jitsu is not really big in Europe, is it?
No, it wasn't big at all. Like no one knew what it was. I mean, no one pretty much knew what it was. You know, it wasn't. There was no European. This was before Crow Cop or whatever. You know, so there was no European star. You know. In the UFC or in MMA, there was no Fedor, you know, so it wasn't like mainstream at all. Now it is. Yeah,
now it's much bigger, and now right before we start recording, you said that you have pretty good idea about what jiu-jitsu looks like in Europe all around, and
that's right.
And what do you think is the contributor to the growth of jiu-jitsu? Why is it so popular in Europe?
Because I think like the pioneers, you know, so. I consider myself like a second generation of the European black belts, because I got my black belt in 2013, you know. But the first generation did a great job, you know. They planted the seed, and then they were all super passionate about it, and that they transmitted it to their students, who then transmitted it to their students, you know, like when you're a grandpa and you transmit something to your son or daughter, and then to the kids, it's the same thing. It's all the same family tree. So now we have the new generation. I mean, they're absolute killers. They start from 4 years old, you know, and then you know, and they're already beating you up when they're 16. You know, it's unbelievable. You know,
yeah, some of those kids are crazy. Like even here in my academy, we have you know, we have some kids that are like, they are 12 and they're like, whoa, boy, they get to 18. This is going to be scary.
Yeah, but if they survive puberty, that's a big question. You know?
That changes everything, right?
That changes everything.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of kids around the teenage time kind of taking a shift in a different direction?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I own a big academy here in Serbia, in Belgrade, and we have a big kids program, and I just promoted one of my first students. He started like at 13 years old, Now he's 22. I just gave him his black belt like 2 months ago. He's basically like my adopted son. I call him my BJJ son. You know, I don't have a son. I have a daughter. He's like my son. You know, and I was all teared up when I gave it to them. You know, he was like, "What's wrong with you, coach?" You know, I was crying my heart out. I was like, "Oh my God," you know, because we went through so much together. You know?
Walk me through that moment. You tying up. I mean, that's a big deal. Somebody starting as he didn't even start as an adult. He started as a teenager, and then he goes to
teenager. Yeah.
And he goes through all the ranks, and then you give him the black belt.
From yellow to black belt. It's crazy. And I remember his mom called the academy one day. She goes, "Oh, my son, he's getting in trouble in school. We want to put him to something, you know, to something good for him." So I said, "Oh, bring him in." And back in those days, I had just opened my academy, so we didn't have any kids. You know, he started training with us directly. You know, so but he was right from the get go. I could see this guy he wanted it. He was something different about it, you know, about him. So yeah.
What do you think was different about him?
He just kept showing up. You know, every day he kept showing up to training. You know, we get beaten up and all that, and just come back, and he loved competing. You know, not everybody likes competing, but he loved competing. You know. And you know, I did my best. Some stuff, you know, you're not a specialist in everything in jiu-jitsu as a coach, you know. So I brought in a lot of my friends from abroad to come teach other black belts and just to help them out and help out the other guys in the academy. And yes, I opened my doors to different people to come in and call people to train with him also who are his size. So yeah.
Walk me through that day when you gave him a black belt. What happened? How did it happen? Did he first of all? Did he know? Did he know what was coming?
He didn't know. He didn't know because I like to surprise them. You know, I don't do the end of the year, you know, promotion thing. I just one day at training, he was just like on the sidelines, you know, and then I just came up to him, and then I gave him a hug. You know, he's like, okay, and then I pulled out a black belt, and he's like, oh my God, you know, and that's it, man, like I told you, like my son, this guy, Strahinja. His name is Strahinja.
That has to feel good to you. I mean, somebody grows up, looks up to you, and then you give him a black belt. I mean, that has to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, you're a coach, right? You're an instructor also, right? You have an academy. Yeah. So you know that feeling. For me, being a jiu-jitsu coach is the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. You know. It's how can I say, like you build up people, you build them, you know, like they come from you as a white belt or a teenager or a kid, and then through jiu-jitsu you try to improve their personality, improve their lives. You know, I'm not saying jiu-jitsu is the solution to everything, but it really helps. It really builds self-confidence and all that, you know. And just to see the people grow, it's very, very fulfilling as a person to see that. I was rolling with one of my just one more story, because this happened to me a few days ago. I was rolling with one of my purple belts. You know, he's a super good guy, super talented. You know, he does only no-gi. You know, he said, "Oh, I only want to do no-gi." I said, "No problem. Okay, you can do no-gi." But he's already submitted many black belts in competition, all that. So we're rolling together. He mounts me, taps me with a arm triangle. You know, I'm like, wow. You know, so at the end of the roll, I'm like, man, that was awesome. You know, I didn't even feel you transition to mount. He goes, well, he goes, coach, you taught me that. I'm like, oh shit, that's true. I forgot. Man. You know, but it felt like, you know, it felt good. You know, like, man, yeah, that he remembers that. You know, and you know.
Well, it's our job to really for them to be better than us, essentially. Right?
Absolutely.
This is why we teach them, right?
Absolutely. I'm so proud of all my students, man. You know, and all types of people. You know, not just competitors. I'm proud of the people, like, you know, who got a 9-to-5 job with 3 kids, and who every day they come to training. You know, whatever happens, they get smashed in training. They come back and they ask questions. How can I solve this? Or the small female, you know, who gets destroyed all the time and just comes up and is so tough. You know, I love that. You know, it's all different types of people in an academy.
What's the biggest change? What's the biggest change that you've seen from your students from the beginning to today? Like, what's the biggest transformation that you've noticed?
You mean like individuals? You mean?
Yeah. Like, do you have somebody who are like, wow, this is a completely different human being than it was when they started?
I've got so many of those guys, those people, you know. I've got this guy, man. I'm not gonna name him, but when he watches this, he's gonna recognize himself. So this guy, he is how can I say, like he started out as like a half criminal, let's say, you know, kind of like you know what I'm saying, like kind of dangerous guy,
Trouble.
big, troublemaker. He was already an adult, you know, and he was so rough. He's so strong, you know, so rough, so strong in training. And I told him one day, I said, dude, you know, like I have to be able to trust you, you know, in the sense that if you roll with someone who's way weaker than you, or a small female, or a child, or something, that you know how to not injure them, you know, how to measure your aggressiveness. You know, I said, with me, you can try and kill me, it's no problem, I can take it. But with all the others, you have to, you know, you're a very powerful guy, you know. He said, oh yeah. I guess, and what I realized, this guy, he's he respects like a fair authority. Like if I was like a kind of an a-hole instructor, like he would never listen to me, you know. But I've always been fair with him from day one, you know. So also he calls me Chico. Chico in Serbian means uncle, Uncle Gile, you know, as a form of respect, you know. Especially I'm a foreigner, you know. It's like for a Serbian guy to say that to a foreigner, that means that he really likes him. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure it's the same in Poland. You know, like you wanted to say it to a gringo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like that respect he gives me, and I give him respect back. You know. So this guy is completely changed ever since, from being like a Neanderthal, you know, like a caveman, to being like the nicest guy ever. Super polite, super nice. He still got that crazy fuse, you know, but you know, he's like a wrestler, but he pulls guard sometimes. You know what I mean? Like he plays guard and all that. You know, so that's one example. And now he's a father. You know, I'm very proud of him, and he's got responsibilities. He stepped away from that criminal background. You know, he's got a life together. You know, and I'm sure it's not just because of jiu-jitsu, but I think it helps. You know, because it kind of like tamed his ego, being in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, for sure.
Well, that's what jiu-jitsu does, right? It builds trust between people, because we have to trust our training partners.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then really tames our ego down. It
That's
really
right.
shows we can't. Do you think, can we train with a big ego? I mean, can students like that really exist on the mat, or is it hard?
I don't think so. I mean, honestly, like even the best in the world, they get submitted. You know what I mean? I've seen like world champions. Like, you know when you watch a world champion train, right? He's not always the best guy in training. You know, he's always trained to exhaustion. So sometimes he's gonna roll with like a purple belt who's gonna tap him. You know, and if he hasn't got his ego in check, it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? So I think it's good to have an ego, but a constructive ego. You know, in the sense, like, you know, if someone tells you, hey, you can't do it, they said, okay, I'll show you I can do it. I think that's like a healthy ego, you know?
Yeah,
but
that's
to know
a
how
very
to
good
also
point.
take
Because
the
the ego, because ultimately ego pushes us forward, right? Like in a positive
Absolutely.
way. Like it drives us, it propels us forward, right? But if it's too much, then it's where it becomes unhealthy, right?
Absolutely.
So how did you end up in Serbia? I mean, you started in France, and how did you end up down south?
Yeah, that's southeast. Let's say
Southeast,
yes.
right?
Yeah. So that's a long story, but basically, I was a student in Paris. This is around the same time I started jiu-jitsu, and there were some exchange students from Serbia. This was like 99, you know. So they had like exchange students in my university, and there were Serbians, you know. And this is, dude. I mean, if you remember the war in Kosovo, Yugoslavia, this was 99. So Serbs were like vilified everywhere, you know. You say Serbian, oh my God, you're like vampires. They're Nazis. They kill people. Genocide, that kind of stuff. So I was watching CNN and BBC, you know. So my vision was also like kind of like influenced by the media. So I remember there was this like Serbian girl in the university. She's like, oh, because I was walking my dog. You know, she goes, oh, what a cute dog. I go, hey, my dog doesn't speak Serbian. Okay, just leave him alone. Okay. I didn't know. You know, I thought like they They were nice people, you know. Next thing you know, I became friends with some Serbian guys. We were playing basketball together because that's the number one sport in Serbia, basketball. And then they invited me to a Serbian party, and that's it. It's like when I started training jiu-jitsu, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. These are my people. They're so friendly, you know. And then all my buddies were Serbs in the university, and then I had a Serbian girlfriend, one or two, you know. And then they invited me over for summer, and this was summer 2000. So summer 2000, they were still under economic sanctions from the European Union. You know, it was the wild west. You know, as a French citizen, I needed an invitation letter, you know, to get in. Like I had only like a 1 month visa, and I was like, I think one of the only foreigners in Belgrade, in the capital, in that summer. You know, and everybody thought I was a spy. I'm like, why is this guy visiting us? You know, like, what's the purpose of your visit? I'm like, just to have fun, you know. And then I had the craziest summer, you know, insane. We were going out every night, you know, and the people were so nice, you know. So, long story short, I went back to Paris, and then I had a Serbian girlfriend, and this is now my wife. This was like 20 something years ago. We got married, and we moved back to Serbia together after a few years, you know, and that's it. And I've been here ever since. I love it.
And,
you know,
and look at you now. And look at you now. I
yeah,
mean,
but I live here 18 years. You know,
but you're living
yeah.
the dream. I mean, look at how one event led to literally your entire life being the way how you have it, right? I mean, like,
yeah, for sure.
If there one day these things didn't happen, if you didn't meet those people, like, where would you be now? I mean,
that's true. But the you know, I live in Serbia for 18 years, you know, and but I definitely think that being a jiu-jitsu instructor and having a big academy, it's solidified my time here, because all of my you know how it is when you have a BJJ academy, you have a huge network, you know, you have like friends from everywhere, you know, from all walks of life. And my wife, who's from here, she's like, oh my God, you know more people than me in Belgrade. You know people like from the police, from politicians, doctors, lawyers, criminals, everything, you know. Like we're in the street, we're walking the street, hey coach, what's up? Hey Gile, what's up? You know, and she's lived her whole life, you know, like. So yeah, I think that jiu-jitsu really helped me appreciate the locals here, because also, you know, from hanging out with my students, I get to understand the local culture. I speak fluent Serbian now because of them, you know. I teach in Serbian, you know, when I teach a class.
Was it hard at the beginning when you moved over because of the language barrier and the cultural changes and all the other things? Like, I mean, I moved to US when I was 12, and that was difficult for a teenager, you know. I can only imagine for you. You were much older when you moved, right? So
yeah, but I come from a mixed background. My father is French, my mom is Filipina, you know, and I moved around a lot when I was a kid in different countries. So I'm very quick to learn languages, and I'm an extrovert, you know. So like I have no problem talking to people, you know, and make friends, you know, very fast. So it wasn't too hard, trust me. And Serbs are so friendly, man. For me, that they're the friendliest people around, you know, like you know, like they're not typical Slavic in the sense that, you know, they're South Slavic, you know, like Russians or northern Eastern Europeans. They're, you know, you're Polish, right? The Polish, what I notice, they're friendly when they get to know you, but when they don't know you, they're like keep their distance a bit, you know. They don't smile much. I know how it is. After a few beers or vodkas, they're the best friends. You know?
Oh yeah, that's when we open up.
Dude, do you know? I have a Polish friend in France, man. Both of us had a few beers. I was speaking fluent Polish after, man. I was speaking to him in Serbian. He was speaking. Yeah, we have the same swear words, man. You know.
That's right. That sounds familiar. Yeah.
The word I won't say, but the word with a K. K-U-R, you know, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
It's like hello already, like you know,
bringing back memories.
Yeah, man.
So in addition to all of this, you starting. So when did you start your academy? At which point
2014, so 10 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I was already a black belt. Yeah.
So what made you start the academy after you got your black belt? I mean, you at that point you live in Serbia for a while, right?
Yeah. I was training in Serbia in the first Serbian academy. It's called RŌL team. That's the pioneer of Serbian Jiu-Jitsu, my instructor here, and I was already like I was an instructor there also. I was teaching like 2 times a week, and I was competing a lot. And I found this new space. I found a new space next to my house. You know, it was a huge. The mat was 400 square meters. It's huge, you know. And then I found an opportunity. I asked my coach, "Do you mind if I open a small section there, like 3 times a week?" He said, "Yeah, of course, go for it." You know. And that just like it caught up like wildfire. You know, I was like the only foreigner teaching jiu-jitsu in Serbia. You know, so a lot of people came, and I did good marketing. You know, I made like back in those days they didn't have that in Serbia. They didn't have like strong marketing for schools. You know, I made like a cool video and all that. You know, and people started coming. I had lots of white belts, and all my black belt friends also came to train with me. You know, and yeah, it just caught up, and then next thing you know, we had like 50 students in the first 6 months, and it just grew from there. You know?
Well, good
And
for
now,
you. I mean,
yeah, now we have
it's.
a good yeah.
I mean,
10
good for
years
you
later,
because
it's a big academy here. We're around 200 students and have 11 affiliates now. You know, all around,
nice.
not just Serbia. I have in Bosnia also, and I have in Turkey also a few academies there affiliated.
Well, in addition to all of this, you also run the BJJ Eastern Europe
That's
website,
right.
right?
That's right,
Which provides all the updates and news, and I think a lot of people are familiar with it. You know, what made you start that? Why you engaging into online news, if you will, or
yeah.
where did that idea come from?
Okay, so I started BJEE in 2012. So that's 12 years ago, you know. And when I first started it, it was like, you know, I still am a BJ geek, you know, a BJ nerd. I was going on all the forums, you know, Shirt Dog forum. Do you remember that old, what's it called again? The underground, what's it called? The MMA.tv.
MMA.tv, yeah.
I was going on that forum a lot, you know. All the old school guys are there, right? So I was going there, and I said, man, you know, it would be so cool if we had something like this, but for Europe, you know, because I have a lot of friends. I had met some people in competitions, like Polish guys, Swedish guys, Spanish guys, you know. So I'm like, yeah, we should make some kind of forum. So I started off with a forum. Then I made a blog, you know, and the blog was called BJJ Eastern Europe. And then I had the good idea of interviewing, because I made like a belt database of all the black belts in Eastern Europe. There was not so many in those days. There was like, I think in Poland there were maybe like 50, because Poland has a lot of black belts, right? So in those days there was only about 50. So what I did, I also did like interviews of all the pioneers of jiu-jitsu in each country in Eastern Europe, you know. So for example, for Poland, I did like Mariusz Linka, you know, who passed away recently. Great guy, by the way, you know. I interviewed him. I interviewed Piotr Baginski also, Polish black belt, tough guy. You know? He had big school, Berserkers Academy, the name of his team. You know, and all the and then also I wanted to, you know, when you meet somebody like an old black belt, he has so many stories. You know, like, and then I didn't want those stories to go away, so I want for that to be like put in an article form. You know, like, so for example, how did jiu-jitsu start in Europe? I made an article about that many years ago, and not many people know, but Hickson Gracie, he came in 1995 to Paris and he did a seminar there, and that planted the seed for jiu-jitsu in all of Europe. So all the people who went to that seminar, they're all like one of the first generations of black belt in Europe. They're mostly French, to be honest, you know, but there's a few British guys who were there. This was way before Roger Gracie was in London, or even way before any Polish guy started training jiu-jitsu. You know, I think the first black belts in jiu-jitsu in Poland was around 2001, 2002. You know, so yeah, so I just started doing that, and it got bigger and bigger. And you know, since I'm international background, I said, you know what, man, I'm going to cover jiu-jitsu news from all around the world. You know, not just from Europe, because it's too small. You know, the biggest market is US, Brazil, you know, and Asia. And I had a friend also in Asia, Luke. He had a site called bjjasia.com. It doesn't exist anymore. The guy was from Bangkok. And I said, man, you know, I'm going to do something like that, but for Eastern Europe. But, you know, I saw that all the traffic from the website was coming from US. said, you know what, I'm going to cover US also. I know many people there. And that's how it started. It went from a blog, and I transferred that into a website, and now it's like a news website. We have also like we have everything, interviews.
You got a lot of stuff in there. I mean, I've been following your stuff for a long time. Yeah.
And to be honest, not everything is good, but some of it it's always entertaining. You know what I'm saying? Like you know how it is when you have a website. Unfortunately, people they don't always get hooked on the most positive stories. Sometimes they'll click on the dumbest stuff. Like I used to do this stuff a lot back in the day. It was ousting fake black belts. I don't know if you see any. Yeah, but that has consequences. Because so I used to do that a lot before, because I have some friends in the UK. Who they call themselves the BJJ police. So whenever some trickery happens in jiu-jitsu, like someone pretending to be a black belt comes along, they call the BJ police, And I started doing that also. People are like, hey, you should check out this guy in Holland. He's pretending to be a black belt. So I would like call them up and pretend I was a student and ask him about, oh, by the way, who gave you your black belt in jiu-jitsu? And if ever I saw any kind of hesitation, like, okay, this is not good. If the guy can't name who gave him his black belt, that's messed up.
Yeah.
So then I would do some research and boom, expose it. But I stopped doing that, to be honest, because I even got some death threats for some people. I'm saying that.
Oh, really? Huh?
Yeah, but I said, you know what, man? You know where you can find me. You come to this address. That's the address of my academy. So you come there, and then be ready. No problem.
Has anybody ever showed up?
Of course not. Of course not. You think they're gonna come all the way to Serbia?
No. The fake black belts aren't going out there.
Yeah, they're not gonna come to Serbia to take me out, man. It's okay.
When you were starting the blog, have you ever thought about this getting so big? I mean, your website is one of the more popular websites out there.
It was the first one recommended to me.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. When I first started. Yeah. Yep. My buddy Craig, who got me started in jiu-jitsu, or pointed me in the right direction, I should say. Yeah. He was like, when I told him I signed up, he was like, "Oh, you got to check these guys out. These people out." And BJJE was definitely the top of the list.
That's awesome. I love hearing that, man.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Have you ever reflected on the fact how many people you are impacting? Like, one, through the website, through your academy, everything that you do, all the friends that you have. I mean, there has to be thousands and thousands and thousands, if not millions, of people.
Yeah, I don't really think about that much, because the thing is also, I live all the way here in Serbia, and over here, I mean, jiu-jitsu is growing, but it's not a mainstream like in the US. Whenever I go to the US, I'm amazed at how everybody knows jiu-jitsu. It's crazy. You're walking in the street, they see cauliflower ears, like, oh my God, you're a jiu-jitsu guy. Here they look at you like, have you got some problems with your ears or something? Are you born that way? They have no idea what it means.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I don't honestly. Sometimes I look at like the amount of traffic. Like it depends on the month, but some months we reach up to 1 million page views. It's huge. Like it's bigger than Flow Grappling or. I mean, Flow Grappling, they're noobs, man. I mean, they came on in 2017, 18, when Flow Grappling launched, they were advertising through BJE. They were paying like banners. Hey, we have a new site coming up. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help you out if you want. And so we're bigger than Flow Grappling some months. And for example, Jiu-Jitsu Times was also a big site. It's disappeared also. That's actually a tragedy, because the editor is a friend of mine. He's also Filipino. Kit. He's a student of Romulo Barral. Someone hacked his site a few months ago, actually 6 months ago. His site got hacked, and then it got wiped out, and he lost access to everything. And
wow! I didn't know that was the reason. Wow!
Yeah, man. If you look at Jiu-Jitsu Times, it doesn't exist anymore. It's horrible, man.
No, I know it doesn't exist, but I didn't know that's crazy. What happened. Wow!
Yeah, man. It got hacked. But he's doing okay. He's fine. He has other stuff he's doing. He's doing better now. He's like streaming. Told me he's streaming like video games or something. I don't understand what that means, but he's streaming video games on YouTube. He's a streamer. Some Gen Gen Z stuff.
Gen Z, yeah.
No clue. I do jiu-jitsu. I don't know anything about
No idea
gaming
what you're
or
talking
streaming.
about, man. He's speaking Chinese to me, man.
Listen, what do you think? Let's change the topic here for a second. What do you think is different between the European jiu-jitsu that you see there every day and the jiu-jitsu in US particularly? Like, I mean, US is being considered as one of the main points of jiu-jitsu, right? Like, I don't know if it's mainstream, but definitely it's popular, right?
Yeah.
In Brazil, it feels like I mean, that's where it all started, but jiu-jitsu is not as present. It's everywhere, but it doesn't have the same attention, right?
Well, it's huge. It's huge in Brazil also. I was in Brazil. I spent many months there. Everybody knows, man.
Right. I think in Brazil is actually bigger than in US, in my opinion. Like it's everywhere, right?
Yeah,
but as far as like people really making money and being careers and having academies, in US probably has a bigger presence, right? How is this look in Europe? What is the difference between Europe Jiu-Jitsu and US Jiu-Jitsu?
So in Europe, first, I think you have to differentiate like the UK. The UK for me is similar to the US in the mentality of people. People are like hardworking. They pay for something. If you go to if you go to Spain or France, people are not used to paying for a service. Like they're not gonna pay like $200 a month to train unlimited in a BJ academy. It's like unheard of. It's slowly changing, but in the UK they are. You go to Hodge Gracie Academy or Cross and Gracie Academy in London. It's like £200. It's basically like $250. And you have a lot of black belts. So that's changing. So in the UK, it's more professional in the sense that you have a proper brick and mortar academy with showers and everything like that. Whereas in many places in Europe, it's still like a socialist system. Like there's some academies will not be like professional academies; they'll be like in some sports center. But it is changing. So more and more you have professional academies, but people are still not willing to pay so much to train. They'll maybe pay like €60, which is basically like $80 or $90 maximum. In my academy in Serbia is a poor country. I charge around $55, which is only for unlimited, which is quite high for Serbia, but they have 12 black belts to train with, train under, So I think that kind of like slowed down the growth of BJJ in Europe, But then again, Europe is huge, it's so different. You can't compare BJJ in Portugal and BJJ in Russia. It's completely different. It's different styles also, I would say like Eastern European BJJ is definitely more like it's less like guard playing. It's more like pressure passing, heavy, that kind of style, like more like bread and butter jiu-jitsu. But then again, you also have some guys who are like lightweights who do like berimbolos and crazy stuff. What I noticed when I was training in Brazil, I found the Brazilians to be very technical. Like relying less on like being athletic and much more on technique. And I felt also like Brazilians were how can I say, like they for them training jiu-jitsu was a question of like national pride or something. Like it was their sport, definitely. And they were and they were living the jiu-jitsu lifestyle at the fullest. They were like really living it. The whole culture. Going to surfing and everything. But that's the main difference I saw. And I also
how does this look?
Yeah.
How does this look in Serbia?
Serbia,
What are your students like? How often do they train? What's the training look like? Like, is it more hobbyist or is it a little bit more serious, like a lifestyle? Is everybody really in it, or is it more like let me just go there a couple times a week?
Well, you have all kinds of people, but I think it also the instructor is the one who shapes the atmosphere of the academy. I'm a very laid back guy, because I was influenced by my own instructors. My first instructors in France were Brazilian guys, And I remember going to my first few classes. I see the Brazilian instructor, middle of winter, he's wearing surf shorts. He's coming in on his skateboard. He's like, "Hey, what's up, my brother?" I'm like, "Whoa, this guy is so cool, man. I want to be like him, And then all giving you a hug and super friendly, warm, And that's how I try to be with my students, Like always laid back, smiling, but not fake, smiling. And actually, talking about this, when I first opened my academy, Adem Redzovic, he came to Serbia. He did a seminar in my school, and I asked him for advice. How to like what kind of advice can he give me to have a good academy? He told me, dude, you know what you can do. You know what you should do is you should touch every single student in every class, every training. I mean, touch, like have a conversation and like honest, and I've taken it further. I talk and I shake hands with every single parent who comes with their kid, because that's connected. They see if they see the instructor and they feel really at home there, then they'll stay, and they'll feel really at home. So that's the vibe I want to give in my academy. Like I'm like everybody's like big brother or uncle or daddy, and super friendly, and I care about them. I care about all my students. It's
yeah, it's funny that you say this, because one of the advice I got from Adem was to know every student's name and say it at least
it's
3 times every test. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. When you got few hundred students, knowing everybody's name is not easy.
And sometimes they won't even correct you. You call him like if his name's Boris and you call him like David or something. He won't even correct you for 1 year.
I don't correct when people get my name wrong. I don't correct them because I think it's funny. I'll just let it ride. My neighbor called me Derek for years, and I was just like, "Hey, what's up?"
You look like a Derek, so I'll call you
that's
Derek.
What people tell me. It's But speaking of Adem, he did a seminar here. It was one of Thomas's anniversaries. Yeah. It was the first time I hurt my knee, so I was out. And he, while after he teaches a technique, he shows everybody technique. He comes off the mats, walks over, shakes my hand, introduces himself to me, talks, why aren't you on the mats? And I explained everything. He was like, oh yeah, you're doing the right thing, blah, blah, blah. And 2 minutes later, I was working with somebody he went to high school with. I knew his pet bird's name. So
that's right. He's got a bird. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. He's got a bird.
Yep. Yeah. And then one of the other times I was super impressed on the mats is a former student of his and somebody that has a great relationship with us, Eric Butler, walked on the mats for a different seminar, never saw him before. And he walked right past the group of black belts without saying hello and went down the line shaking everybody's hand. He is a black belt himself.
Okay.
And went down the line starting, how the white belts are always on one side. Introduced himself to every single student. Shook everybody's hand. And the connections that makes and the way that makes your students feel. They want to come back. They feel
important. They feel important.
Yes,
they feel appreciated.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because that's important, right? I mean, for students to feel wanted, to feel important, like they're included, they're part of the community, right? That's what builds it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to empower them. We have to build them. A lot of people they come to Jiu-Jitsu, they come with all this trauma from their life, or they had a shit day at work, or their wife is busting their balls, and they want to come to Jiu-Jitsu, have a good time. I don't know why you're laughing, man.
Because it's true.
It's true. It's true. They come there to feel good. They don't come there for some guy to with an ego trip to scream at them and make them feel bad. No, they want to go there, feel good, about themselves.
Do you think being an instructor is difficult?
It can be, but I love Jiu-Jitsu so much that honestly, I wake up in the morning, dude. I worked in real estate for 10 years, and I was wearing a suit every day. I'm so happy that for the last 10 years, I go to work now.
You wear a suit now. You're key, right?
I wear a suit. Yeah. I wear the best suit. I wear a Superman uniform.
Superman.
For me, guys, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that I can make a living. Provide for my family from Jiu-Jitsu, because many people that's their dream. Of course, it's not easy. You have to be the one who's clean the toilets and that kind of stuff in the academy. But it's for me, it's the greatest job in the world.
What's so great about it? Many people dream about doing what you do, or being an instructor, having their own academy, teaching. What is so great about it?
There's so many things, man. So many things. But I just love training. I love training. I love the challenge of problem solving in jiu-jitsu. Always a next challenge. I compete a lot, you know. I compete maybe like 7 times a year, you know, in local tournaments and sometimes abroad. I even compete against adults sometimes, you know, in black belt division. I don't always win, you know, but you know, I always give it my maximum effort. But it's so rewarding. And I tell my students, you know, I'm 44, but I feel like I'm 25 because I'm always around you guys. You know, and you know, I understand your Gen Z stuff, you know, because I hang out with you guys, you know, you know, and that's
Well,
also
at least one of us does, because I don't get it.
Exactly. That's the great thing about being an instructor. You're around all types of people, you know, older people, you know, younger people. You're around women also, you know, kids, you know, so everybody's different, right? I mean, you have all walks of life there. You know? So you cannot be someone who's like, oh, I don't like this group of people. Like, I don't like this, I don't like that. No, everybody's human, and especially we all train jiu-jitsu. You know,
That's the beautiful part behind all of this, is that mat, when we step on the mat, it doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, what background you come from, you know, what you do for a living, what your job is. You know, it all kind of equalizes. It's the same, and we just get to have fun.
It connects you.
Yeah, it connects
you're
you,
friends
right?
with people who you would never even be friends with in real life. You know, someone from a completely different background than you. You know, and your best buddies are like wrestling each other and stuff. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I told this.
You know,
I told this story, you know, so many times, but like you go and you are at the airport, you see somebody with jiu-jitsu t-shirt, and you start talking to them, right?
Yeah.
Like, this happens all the time. Like
I was like, once I was at the airport here in Serbia, and I was with one of my black belts. We were going to Turkey for a seminar, and then like there was a big line, you know, on one side where we were supposed to go, and then there was like the VIP line. The VIP line, there was like some security guy and he goes, "Hey, you too." I'm like, "Yes." You go here. Hi, Gile. I'm a student of. No. I'm like, "Oh my god, man." you guys
VIP treatment. Look at you.
All good. Like, "Oh, hey, professor, how are you?" You know. It's so awesome.
High roller. Man. Look at you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Like, oh,
That's
excuse
awesome.
me.
That's awesome.
Just from jiu-jitsu.
Do you think that European jiu-jitsu is going to be bigger than US jiu-jitsu at some point? I mean, it's growing so fast. It's ridiculous. Do you think it will ever become bigger than US?
Bigger? I don't think so. Like realistically, no way, man. Because first of all, US is a huge country. Like 300 million, 250 million.
Up
you know,
there,
it's huge.
Three, yeah.
Yeah, it's a superpower, man. It's humongous, you know. And you know, UFC is from the UFC is from the US. Joe Rogan is from the US, you know. So it's the future of jiu-jitsu. I'm not even going to call it Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Is going to be in the US, I think, you know. And then it's going to continue being in the US for a long time, you know. Europe is still has some good guys. Like for example, like this year we had Adem Walensky was first ever non-Brazilian or non-American, right? Who won world championship at black belt. That's huge. That's huge, you know. But there are guys in Poland, for example, who are I think who are as good as Adem, you know, but they don't get the opportunity to compete in the big tournaments like AJP or the Worlds. You know, there's guys who are as good as him, man, for sure. You know.
Yeah, it's not cheap to fly over to US for Worlds and compete, right? I mean that
it's not cheap. It's not cheap. Yeah, you know, the thing is, like I think in Europe a lot of guys very talented, and they have the level for sure. But I think if they would move the Worlds, I know it's never going to work, but if they would move the World Championship to Europe once, you know, that might showcase a bit of European jiu-jitsu, you know. But that's not going to happen for sure.
Well, I mean, there's the European Championships,
Europeans.
right? There are Europeans there, and I mean, everything is going in that direction. Like, listen, there was not many IBJJFs in Europe until recently. Last few years, there's more and popping up. So, like, it's who knows? I mean, listen, you never know what's going to happen.
Let me tell you about a good friend of mine, David Giorzetti. He's the president of the French BJJ Federation. I had dinner with him a few months ago when I was in France, and this guy has like he's basically turned around jiu-jitsu in France, you know. So if you've noticed, like for 2 years, the IBJF Europeans was held in Paris. That's because of him, because what he did, he's been the president of the French BJ Federation for like 15 years, but only recently, like 5 years ago, did they team up with the French Judo Federation, which is extremely powerful. You know, France is a huge country for judo.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
oh yeah.
So they benefited from all the resources of French judo, and so basically every person who trains jiu-jitsu in France has to be a member of the federation. And what they get from this is they get tournaments like almost every weekend, everywhere in France for a little price. You know, it's a non-profit basically, unlike IBJF, which is for profit, right? So I think like they pay like $30 for a competition, and then what this did, it boosted the turnout. So there's a lot of black belts in France, but not many of them were competing. And now all of a sudden, even like in Masters division, in the French championships, you got huge numbers. You got full brackets and everything, and that really turned things around. But from talking to him, I realized this guy is working around the clock. He has 49 tournaments a year for France only, which is like has 50 million population, you know. So almost every weekend, him and his team, they're in one city around France, they're doing that, and you know, it requires someone like him to make it grow, but not everybody is willing to do that. You know, in Serbia, we don't even have a federation because it's too much work, and there's nobody there to do it. They asked me if I wanted to run it. I said, guys, I don't have the time for this. I'm doing like other jobs, and you know, it takes a lot of your time, and you know, you don't get paid that much also. You know? So
yeah, it's hard to make big changes like this. First of all these big changes take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and then
have you guys run a tournament ever? Have you guys ever run? No, I did it once. I'm never again. No, I did. Yeah.
Why?
I did.
Okay. Tell me why. Why was what happened?
Man, so this 2014, I did the UAE JJF Serbian National Pro. So this was before the AJP. You know, the AJP, the Abu Dhabi Federation, right? So this was back then. And then so they contacted me, said, yeah, we want to do something for Serbia, and we have a prize fund of $50,000. You know, that's huge. So basically, every winner of the weight class, even from like blue belt to black belt, they get a sponsored trip to the UAE JJF World Championships in Abu Dhabi. So I'm like, oh, that's awesome, you know. So I organized everything here, I advertised it through BJE, you know, expecting that I would have a huge turnout. But the problem was that the tournament had maybe like 70% foreigners, and the rest were locals. And the locals were like, yeah, it's too expensive. Yeah, and I was so pissed off. Like, hey guys, you know, we put it was like $70, you know, but they were used to paying $30 in Serbia. But I said, yeah, but look at the prices. You know, it's human nature. You know, like sometimes you gotta understand people. And so what happened is all the competitors were all like top competitors in every weight class for every belt. So you know, like in tournaments, you have like, let's call them like tourists. You know, like people who are like regular guys who don't really have a chance to medal, but they just go for fun, right? Well, you didn't have that there. You had only the most serious ones and all that. So we only had like 120 people. So I actually lost money. You know, I lost like a lot of money doing that, and a lot of nerves, and I even competed in my own tournament. I had a fever, and I competed in the black belt division. You know, just because there were 14 black belts there, and back then there were not so many black belts here. I said, I want to compete with these guys. You know, so I said, man, there's too much stress. I don't want to do this. So imagine doing that every weekend or every second weekend. Man, it's like you have to really enjoy that. You know, but I don't. You know?
And you're right. You really gotta love it, right? You gotta be kind of crazy enough to
and
love
no one
it.
appreciates your job.
Work.
They're like, yeah. How was the tournament? This wasn't good. This wasn't good. Yeah. How about what was?
Point out what went wrong.
Yeah, man. You know, like so, like they don't like you know, like it's like being a referee, a BJ referee. That's the shittiest job in the world. You know what I mean? Hey, ref,
I've done it. I've done it.
My 2 points, ref. You know, like yeah. You did it. It's horrible, man. You know. I was a referee.
Never again.
Dude, I was a referee in London once, and the problem is I look Brazilian, and all the Brazilians thought I was Brazilian. They go, hey, filho da puta, you know, they're insulting me. Like, hey,
Yeah.
how come you give the 2 points for the British guy, not for our guy, you know? I'm like, hey, guy, I'm not Brazilian, guys, you know, I'm Filipino.
That's
Yeah.
funny. That's funny.
Yeah, man.
That's funny. So what's next for you? I mean, you've done so much, you know, between your academy to, you know, your website, and now we learned that you run a tournament and you do a whole bunch of stuff. What's next for you? Like, do you ever look in the future? Do you, you know, besides growing your academy, that's kind of the default, right?
Yeah.
But are you planning on any big projects?
Yeah, but I mean, first of all, I still compete a lot, you know. I should be competing less, but I enjoy it so much, you know. I love competing. It takes so much of your time and effort, and it's tiring, you know. But I love doing it because it shows also to my students that, you know, if the old man can do it, so can I, you know.
Yeah.
So I like to lead by example. You know, I don't always win, you know, but man, I always give it everything. You know, it's I tell my guys, you know, like I'm gonna face this guy. He's better than me on paper, but I'm gonna make his life a living hell. You know, you know, for 6 minutes. That's how much I got in the gas tank. You know,
Yeah.
Masters division. So I want to continue competing a lot, and I have a new project now. I released it 2 months ago, so I have my own online instructionals, BJ instructionals, and it's targeted more for like people over 35, you know, and
cool.
you know, guys who are with a regular job, you know, and with all the obligations of life, and who train 3 or 4 times a week, like trying to help them out, like teach them some old man tricks, you know, how to.
Oh yeah, that's right. Old man jiu-jitsu. I like old man jiu-jitsu. That's right.
Yeah,
where is that available? Where can you?
So
where
it's
can
on
everybody find that?
if you go to Google, you write BJEE shop, and you'll find it. It's on Shopify. I have 3 instructionals already out. I've sold a lot. I've sold like around 250 copies in 1 month and a half. So I'm happy with it, you know. And it's basically I'm showing my game. You know, my game is it's a very conservative game, you know, but I think it's a game that you can do for the rest of your life. You know, I'm sure you guys have the same typical same game, like half guard, pressure passing. You know, that's what happens when you're over 40. You know.
Is there anything else?
Listen, I always say once you get over 40, jiu-jitsu is very simple.
Oh man. Dude, I remember when I was a blue belt and purple belt. I'm sure you guys were the same. I was doing like inverted. I was doing that.
Oh yeah.
I was doing, you know, that thing, the tornado guard. From Cyborg.
Oh yeah.
Man, I blew my hamstring doing that. You know.
Oh yeah. I remember, like when I was a purple belt, flying triangles were my favorite. I was like, I'm not doing no flying anything today. Like,
flying triangle. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. When you're a blue belt, you're still searching for a game. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
mean,
no,
I like boring, effective jiu-jitsu nowadays.
That's right. That's the thing. Is like the fun stuff is flashy and it's entertaining, but the effectiveness really comes from the boring stuff, you know. It's
you know, like in jiu-jitsu, like you want to go from A to B, right? The B is like the submission to submit the guy, right? And like I got a feeling like the fancy stuff is going like this, and then you get to B. So on the past year, I changed the grip. I do this, I do that, I do that. You know, like man, you already lost me at the grip change. You know.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can't follow you anymore, man. You know.
Yeah.
You know, whereas you know, the old man jiu-jitsu is like A to
it's
B,
a straight line.
and then pressure, and then you know.
That's it. I love it. I love all of this.
Yeah.
I love it. Listen, we've been at this for almost an hour. Before we start finishing this up,
I can talk for 3 hours about
I know. Listen, I love it. I love it. Well, listen, we got an important thing to say. We got an important thing for you. We have a question for you from our previous guest. So whoever was on the show before you, we have a question for you.
I watch your show a lot, so I know you guys.
So I'm not going to explain anything. You already know what's happening. So let's Gary's going to take a lead on this.
Yeah, but I think we already
kind of answered.
We went through this. Yeah, we answered it already. But we'll spin it. So the original question is, how do you compare the international jiu-jitsu scene with the one in the United States? And we talked a lot about that already. But is there anything specific or anything glaring?
Yeah, I can add to that.
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead.
The way I see it, you know, so I've trained in Asia, I've trained in Europe, I've trained in the US, and I've trained in Brazil. So I've pretty much a good idea. And what I can tell you is this: jiu-jitsu is more or less the same everywhere. You know, you know, like you'll train against a blue belt in the US, it's the same thing as a blue belt in Asia or blue belt in Europe. You know, people are people. You know, and everybody in every academy has a different style. You know, And some people, like I said, 40 years and over, we all have pretty much the same game. You know, it's like a slow game. You know, so I don't really see like a different style in the US than in the rest of the world. I think it's more or less the same. You know? That's the way I see it.
It's the academies that are different. It's the finances that are different, right?
Absolutely.
But the people in the jiu-jitsu is the same.
Like about the academy. So like in some academies, you'll go there, like, you know, and even in our own jiu-jitsu communities, if you go to 10th Planet, right? 10th Planet is like the polar opposite of Gracie Barra, for example. Right?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. So like,
oh yeah,
a 10th Planet will attract a certain type of crowd. And the Gracie Barra will try a different type of crowd, you know. So I think there's a little bit of everything for, you know, a little bit for everybody. You know, there's a academy for everyone. You know, and then you have like a academy where it's only competitors. You know, they're not doing old man jiu-jitsu. They're doing like, you know, I have no idea what they're doing, but they're doing some stuff. You know, you know.
You talked about 10th Planet and Gracie Barra is like polar opposites, right?
Polar opposites. Yeah.
What kind of jiu-jitsu is in Serbia? Like, where does it fit in between those two?
I don't know. I think honestly, you have a 10th Planet here, and you have a Gracie Barra in Serbia also.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
And then you have other academies like my own and all that, because we're not. I have my own affiliation. You know, I'm under my instructor, but I have my own affiliation. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, the way I see it is like my academy is a reflection of my personality and the personality of my students around it. You know, so I guess it's like I said, it's a laid back family vibe, laid back family. You know,
that's the best one.
Yeah, we have a group of competitors, or like hardcore competitors. I separate them, you know, from the others, and then I have like you know, we have the kids class, and at the same time as kids class, we have the parents who are training at the same time. You know, they have their own class there. I call it the middle-aged jiu-jitsu class. You know, moms and pops. Yeah, these are all my friends.
Moms and pops. I like
moms and pops. Gary, we might steal that.
Yeah,
dude, it's awesome. And like we go out for beer sometimes with the dads, and you know, we talk about jiu-jitsu, and we're like, yeah, tonight we're gonna go out, go crazy. And at 12 o'clock, we're like, yeah, man, we're kind of tired now. Yeah.
12 o'clock.
At 12 o'clock, we're like, yeah, I feel a bit tired now, you know. Better go home. I have to go to Home Depot tomorrow, you know. So like,
I'm already in bed for an hour by 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
Remember, Gary, he's in his 40s. You're in your 50s.
p.m. 12 p.m. Maybe we'll go out for beers.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. What a fun conversation. Listen,
thanks,
if anybody wants to connect with you, I mean, besides bjjee.com, where can they connect with you? Like, if anybody's listening to it, where can
Instagram, Facebook, you know. I think pretty much Instagram is the best. You can either write me on the BJEE Instagram page or my own personal. It's Gile BJJEE. Just write me a message, you know. I'll answer.
And as always, as always, we'll put all the links on the show notes of this episode. So if you guys want to connect with him, make sure you guys check out his website, BJJE, and then you shop, right? We have the instructions coming up. All that is going to be included in the show notes. Listen, as we're wrapping this up, this is fun. But one thing I'll tell you, the impact that you're making on jiu-jitsu in Europe is tremendous. And for that, I want to thank you, because I think without people like you, jiu-jitsu would not be growing. And you talked about your friends and friends who really is changing things, but I think you are changing things too. But you are changing things too. Without your website, without your contribution to your local community, what you're doing, and all the friends that you know, and like jiu-jitsu wouldn't grow. And we need more people like you. We really do need more people like you. Gary?
It's a labor of love, man. Labor of love. I love it.
I love it too.
Yeah, thanks for everything. Thank you for your time, your evening. I know, you know, it's in the evening there. This hour flew by. So, and just thank you for your the attitude that you bring. It's funny when you bring up somebody like Adem, and you kind of fit in that box with Adem. So it's great to talk to somebody like you, and thank you for being here.
I'm going to text Adem right now, and I'm going to tell him we just talked to you.
Yeah. And also, like, I want to say about you guys, you know, I've been following your podcast for a long time, you know. very often when I'm writing an article about on BJE when I'm working, I put your podcast in the background because you have some really good, interesting guests. You know, you have good guests, and it's you have good topics. And I have a friend of mine who was on your podcast recently. The guy from Dubai. Rodrigo. Onishi.
Onishi,
yeah.
Another good,
Yeah. He comes to Serbia very often, and I told him, "Hey,
you were
on the RŌL podcast?" Like, yeah, man, I was there. You know?
I'll message him. I was just messaging with him few weeks ago, so I'll message him again. Yeah,
he works with RŌL family there, and the commandos.
Yeah.
Important
the
guy,
Royal
man.
Guard and all that.
Royal Guard, exactly.
Yeah,
we're all connected in Jiu-Jitsu, man. We're all connected.
That's the best part. This is what I love about Jiu-Jitsu. Doesn't matter whether we know each other. We already connected. It's just a matter of creating relationships and continuing this beautiful thing that we all love.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. If ever you guys are in Europe, come visit me. We can organize a seminar at my academy and I'll show you around Serbia.
Sounds like a good time.
That would be a good time.
As long as we're in bed by midnight.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, Gary's not coming. That's for sure. All right, Gile. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you for your stories. And it was a great talk.
All right, peace, man. Thank you.
Let's wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.